You'll see it in just a second.
Yep, there it is.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Here we are at Greek. Tonight we're going to do lesson 3 in our course, which is about masculine nouns. And I'm going to just in a minute, just in a second, I'm going to send through a number of documents on the email, just so that you can all look at the documents as well as me. I'll have them up on the screen here too, but just give me a second. I didn't do this right at the beginning, but just be patient with me, please, for just a second. Okay, and you should be getting them in a minute's time. Okay, so they should be coming through now. You're even going to get week 3 quiz, which normally at the beginning of a lesson, we do a 5-minute quiz just on the vocabulary from the previous week. And I'm going to start keeping scores. We're going to start doing it next week. That is, you get this document through from me. You have to work on it on your own and see how many of the vocabulary items in the previous week's vocabulary, that is the memorization work, you can remember. And I hope it will stir the competitive instincts in some of you to try and help you memorize your list of words for the lesson that you've had before. So you can do that at your own time, but I won't pressure people to tell me what score they got, or you can even look up the answers if you want. But from next week onwards, there's no looking at the vocabulary sheets. You've got to do this without looking at the answers. You've got to try and memorize the vocab from the previous week. So let's start off tonight with the new vocabulary. And let's see. Where is it? Greek class exercise. There it is. Okay. So here's our new vocabulary for this week. And these are all masculine nouns. Now, a noun, I'm sure I hardly need to tell you, a noun is a word that names something. So here is the vocabulary. This is what your quiz is going to be on next week. For the first 5 minutes of our lesson next week, you're going to have to see you're going to see how many of these you get right. So I am going to get Jake to read these words out on the left, just to help with getting the vocabulary embedded in our mind, some of which is a little bit difficult. So go for it, Jake. Left-hand column.
The first one I know from other places, so I'll by no means be this fast on any others, but that's Adelphos.
Adelphos, very good. All right, let's go down the list. Adelphos means brother, by the way,
Yeah.
which is, part of the word of Philadelphia. And it is one of the most ironic names or ironic words of Greek, because Adolf Hitler was one of the most unbrotherly human beings that ever existed. But anyway, that's where he gets his name from. Poor old Adolf. Comes from the Greek word adelphos. Next one.
That's anthropos.
Anthropos, very good. And it means man in the sense of human being, not as in the sense of male. There is a separate Greek word for that. And you can see that it's got an omega in the middle of it. This is one reason why it's good to try and start off by pronouncing each of the vowel letters in Greek separately, differently. So omega, a long O sound, as opposed to omicron, a short O sound. So we have the word home, that's a long O, and we have the word hot, that's a short O. But just memorizing the vocabulary enables us to remember how to spell words like this. Modern Greeks, they say omega and omicron virtually exactly the same. But we're going to try and pronounce this as anthropos, not anthropos, just to help us spell it because of that omega, fourth letter from the end.
Right.
Or the fifth letter from the beginning. Okay, so anthropos means man. Anthropology is the study of humanity. Okay, let's keep on going down the list here, Jake.
Yep, that's artos.
Artos means bread, and that really, unfortunately, there's no nice, easy English memory hint for artos. Let's keep on going.
I'm just working out. Drugos?
No. Doulos.
Doulos. Right.
I think you're you might have been seeing two lines there.
Oh, I was. Yeah. Yeah. Doulos. Yeah, thank you.
Doulos means slave. You remember that Operation Mobilization ship, the Doulos? Yeah, sometimes some people might translate this word as servant, but it's more properly translated as slave. There are lots of words for servants in Greek. Okay, let's keep on going.
That's theos.
Good means God.
That's cosmos. Yeah.
Cosmos, very good, which means world. Literally, cosmos means it's the opposite of chaos. Cosmos means orderly. And so the world to the Greeks was a very orderly system. And it is. It operates according to all these patterns of nature. And the patterns you can see in the stars, how that they're regular in their movements. And the world is not a chaos. The world is orderly. So we use this word even for cosmology, for the study of the universe, because our whole universe operates according to various natural laws and repeated patterns of behavior. But the word is used, for example, in Titus, it says that the Christian woman is to adorn the gospel by her behavior. And it's this same word. To adorn is to make something orderly, neat, tidy, beautiful.
Right.
Anyway, that's the word cosmos. We're just going to translate it as world rather than me going off into some mini sermon any further.
That's kurios.
Kurios, very good. The in the Greek Orthodox Church and some other churches too, they have a hymn called Kyrie eleison, and Kyrie is the word Lord. It's actually, we're going to learn tonight, it's actually the vocative form of the noun. That is when we address someone directly. We say man. Here it is Lord, and it's instead of Kyrios, it's Kyrie. And eleison is the word for have mercy in Greek. So that's, you might have come across some hymns in various liturgical churches. They will have a hymn called Kyrie eleison, which means Lord have mercy. But Kyrios means Lord, and it can often mean just a term of respect as well, sir. Okay, let's keep on going.
And that's Laos.
Yeah, and this means people. Very good.
Right. That will be Logos.
Very good. So here's a little joke for you about Laos before we go on to Logos. Some people have argued that the brethren want to try and get rid of the clergy, but that's not true. The brethren believe in getting rid of the laity. We believe that all of God's people are priests and we should be busy serving God. So, yeah, it's not that we have something against the clergy. It's that, well, we are all clergy. The word clergy comes from another Greek word, and it means called or special people. But all of God's people are priests. All of us are special. So there we are, laity, laos, the people. Logos means the word, and so we have logons for computer systems, and we have all sorts of other ways that logos is used in our modern society.
That is nomos.
Nomos. Nomos means law. So you might have heard the word antinomian. That means any Christian teaching that says that Christians should be lawless, and we don't have to worry about any law. That is antinomianism. It comes from nomos.
Oikos.
Oikos. This is the word for house. Now, it's a very common word in the New Testament. We get our word economy from it. Economy is made up of oikos and nomos. You can see nomos, the word before in our list. It forms the second part of the word nomi. And an economy is literally the law of the house. In other words, the rules you have for running your household, the budgeting and the provisioning for the things in your house. And it's applied, of course, in today, in our modern society, to the running of the whole country's economy. But literally in Greek, it comes from this idea of the law of the house, the ruling and the running of the house. And a steward in New Testament Greek was an oikonomos. He is the man in charge of running the house. He is the house ruler, the man who lays down the law, the nomos, for the oikos. The oikonomos is a steward. Okay, let's keep going.
So I don't know about my pronunciation. Oranos.
Yep. Uranos means heaven. And we get our planet Uranus from that.
Is this Oklos?
Oklos, very good. So this is not all that common in the New Testament, but there's plenty of crowds in the New Testament. Ochlocracy is mob rule, rule by the crowd.
Is this Oios?
Nearly. It's got a rough breathing on it. If you look closely at this, and I'll just prove it to you, it's got a it's got an apostrophe, but it's facing to the right. So it's got a H sound at the front of it. And we pronounce this huios.
Huios.
So it's a bit of a funny one to pronounce. The last one is probably the easiest one on the list.
Yeah. Christos. Yeah.
Christos. Okay. Any questions about any of that vocabulary for this week?
No, that makes sense.
Yep. That's probably going to be one of the easiest vocabulary lessons we're going to have, because so many of these very, very common religious Greek words have been transferred over into English as well. Not even religious, but common Greek words like anthropos, cosmos, laos, logos, they all get adopted into other languages because of their usefulness. So there is our vocabulary for this week. Now, let's have a look at our lesson. We're going to think tonight about masculine nouns. And all of these nouns we just learned in our vocabulary there are masculine nouns. So here is logos and the different forms of logos. So I'm afraid you're just going to have to listen to a little bit of theory about how grammar works, okay, just for a minute. But in English, we don't see very many different endings on nouns. For example, the word door. We don't have too many endings on it. Okay, we just have the same word door. But in Greek, the word door has got 10 different endings, depending on what it's doing in the sentence. If it is the subject of a sentence, and a door is not very often going to be the subject of a sentence, because a door is not something that can do anything. So it's not going to be the subject. The door doesn't speak or think or kick or run. But anyway, even in English, we have some different endings of nouns. For example, you think of the word dog. Now, we have a different ending for dogs in the plural. We stick an S on the end of it. And that tells us that that word dog is a plural rather than a singular. We also have a possessive, dogs. That is my dog's bone. And that's not a plural. We put an apostrophe, D-O-G apostrophe S. And that means something different to dog. It means of the dog, what belongs to the dog's bone. Now, there's two examples in English of how the word changes depending on what function it has in the sentence. But in Greek, this is the beauty of Greek, or the painfulness of Greek, that Greek is extremely specific and extremely precise in telling you what a word is doing in a sentence. And so Greek grammar can be incredibly helpful in understanding the meaning of Greek sentences. So here are the 5 different, or the 10 different endings, actually there's 9, of the Greek word logos, which means word. When the word logos is the subject of a sentence, and again, logos isn't going to be the subject very often, but say a man, anthropos, a man wrote a letter, or a man sent a letter, or a man spoke to another man, or a man threw a ball. In all these sentences, the man is the subject. He is performing the action that the verb tells us about. He is the subject of the sentence. And the word logos or anthropos, when they're the subject, or we call this, they're in the nominative case. You don't need to worry about these words too much for the moment. But when they're the subject of the sentence, this is the form they take, logos. But when they are the direct object of the verb, so you could say a boy hit a man. The boy is the subject. The verb is hit. A man is the object. He is the one who is directly being impacted by the verb. So we could say a man spoke a word. Anthropos, and the word speak is lale. A word, the word is the direct object of the verb. This is what is being spoken. And the word logos, it changes its ending. The way I remember it is this. Here is the thing that is being acted on. Logon. Logos, the last letter there, I like to help remember it by saying logos. The ending S is for the subject. But here, logon tells us what the verb is acting directly on. Here is the genitive or the possessive form of the word, like dog apostrophe S, dogs, my dog's bone. Here, logu means of a word or words, just like dogs has an apostrophe in there. So we could say the man spoke, how do we say it? He spoke a sentence of words, but that would be in the plural. He made the noise of a word, and that would be logu. And then we have the direct or the dative case or the indirect object. This is when something is to or for a noun. So here's a good example. The man hit the ball to the boy, or the man made a boat for the boy. When we say this, the boy is the thing. It's not directly being impacted by the verb. It's not the ball that's being hit or the boat that's being made, but it's to, the boat is made for the boy, and the ball is hit to the boy. So it's not the direct object of the verb, but it's the indirect object. And there the word changes its ending again to logo. And then sometimes in Greek, it's very rare, there is the vocative or the direct address, if we're directly addressing someone. So Jesus oftentimes in John's gospel says woman when he's directly speaking to his mother or to some other lady. And that's in the feminine gender there. But here in the masculine nouns, they take an E on the end. Loge. Now for the plurals, they've got different endings again. There's logoi for the subject, logus. This is all for the plurals. Logus for the direct object, logon for the possessive case, logois for the indirect object, and logoi, it's the same as the subject up the top there. But again, this is very rarely used. So here are these 5 cases I've been talking about, and this might help explain it again a little bit. The nominative or subject is used for the subject of a sentence. A man is eating an apple. The accusative is used for the direct object in a sentence. The dog bit a man. The genitive is used for possession. The dog ate the apple of a man. Or we would say the dog ate a man's apple. The dative is used for the indirect object. The boy gave an apple to a man. And the vocative is used for direct address. Man, eat the apple. Okay, any questions from any of that? That's a lot of Greek grammar downloaded on you. And to really get this into your head, you're going to have to work hard at the homework exercises to get used to doing it. And I would encourage you here. I'm going to turn this off for a second, this screen thing here. I would encourage you, if you've done the homework exercise and you've started working on these things and you're still struggling, look up the chapter in Mr. Duff. He'll give you more exercises. And the more you drill yourself in doing exercises using these different types of endings on words, the more you will start to use it. It's like the drill exercise we did before we went live tonight. We did a exercise from the previous weeks, just helping to drill us in the Greek. Any questions from any of that? Grammar and the different endings on Greek masculine nouns.
No questions.
No questions. All right. I hope that It won't be crystal clear, I don't think, but I hope it's not too overwhelming. So here's just an exercise, a class exercise. So Jake, you can help us out here. These underlined words here, what is the case, or what is the noun in this? What is its function in this noun? Is it the subject? Is it the direct object? Is it a possessive noun? Is it an indirect object? Or is it a vocative case? Have a go. I give lectures.
I give lectures. Is that genitive?
No. It's the direct object. Normally in our English sentences, the subject goes in first position, and then we have the verb, then we have the direct object. In Greek, you can shuffle the words in a sentence round to your heart's delight because their endings tell you what their function is. We signify function normally by the order of words in a sentence. So it's normally the direct object that follows the verb. If it were the possessive, it would have an apostrophe in there, and it would be the lectures of something as well. So it's not the possessive here. Okay, next one. Read out the English sentence, and then what do you think its function is in the sentence?
Oh, sorry, which sentence?
The second one. Oh, sorry. I'm not sorry. No wonder. It is impossible to see what's happening. It's not up on the screen. Sorry.
No,
there you go. I apologize. That is.
So the teacher's voice is boring.
Why is that going like that? No? Let's go there. Okay, so you can see I give lectures there, the first one we did. I apologize that wasn't up on the screen for you to see. So I give lectures. Lectures is the direct object. What about this one? The teacher's voice is boring. Is it the subject, the direct object, the possessive case, or the indirect object, or is it a vocative of direct address?
Is it the So it's not the subject. The voice is the subject, isn't it?
Correct. Well done.
Is it the indirect object? The teacher?
It's the possessive. So we can rewrite this little bit of English this way. We can say the voice of the teacher is boring. And when you see that apostrophe there at the end in English, that means possessive. Or if we wrote it the other way around, the voice of the teacher, there we can see who the voice belongs to. It is the voice that is possessed by the teacher. So it's the possessive case. The genitive case. Okay, read out the next one and have a go at it. But well spotted, that wasn't the subject, even though it's at the front of the sentence.
Yeah. I'm cooking for my wife. So wife, is that the indirect object?
It is. So we haven't put the direct object in that sentence. It's implied. I'm cooking food would be the direct object. For my wife would be the indirect object. Excellent. Okay. Next one.
I have the book. Oh, no, sorry. The students ate all the food. The students. Are they the subject?
They are. They're the ones doing the eating. So they're the
Nice.
subject of the sentence. Okay, next one.
I have the books of a friend. So friend would be the possessive.
Correct.
We're making a hat for the tutor. The tutor is the indirect object.
Correct.
I hate essays. Is that the subject? Essays?
No, I is the subject. I'm the one doing the hating.
So the direct object then, is it?
Direct object,
Essays?
yes. Very good.
Nice. And classes ended too quickly. Classes. The direct object, is it?
No, I think it's going to be the subject again.
Oh yeah.
So the verb is ends or ended. And what ended? Who did the ending? Classes. Yeah. Okay, so we can see from that little list of English sentences there that when we have for my wife or for the tutor or to my wife or to the tutor, this is the indirect object. When we have of a friend or we have a noun with the apostrophe S in it, that's possessive, belongs to this person, of a friend. Normally, the subject is the first word in the sentence or the first thing in the sentence, but it's not always. You can see it in I give lectures. I is the subject. Same with I am cooking. I have the books. I hate essays. We are making a hat. Normally in English, the subject is at the beginning of a sentence, just before the verb. In the second sentence there, the teacher's voice is boring. The subject comes before the verb. The verb is. The verb is has the word voice before it. As the voice, that is the subject. The teacher is in the possessive or genitive case. All right. Any questions about any of those cases and how they're used in English?
None from me.
Okay, so the Greek works in a very similar way to the way our English cases work. And in old-fashioned English, we had these cases more, and they've just simplified over time. We had different endings for words, and they have simplified over time. So yeah, we can't really tell what a word is doing in a sentence just by looking at the word. We've got to look at the order of the sentence in English. But in Greek, you can look at the word itself and tell who is doing the acting, upon whom or what, and for whom, and you can tell what is going on just by looking at the word itself. It's very, very precise and very clear most of the time. Sometimes you can make Greek a little bit unclear, but most of the time they're very, very mathematical, and they like things being done neatly. Okay, now we're going to do a bit of an exercise here, and sadly, because Jake hasn't really got his head around verbs yet, which we did last week, he's not going to know half of the words in these sentences, but I'll tell you what the verbs mean, and you can translate the rest of it, okay? So you've got to look out for the nouns in these sentences. And then after you've done the lesson on verbs, you can come back to this and you can have a bit more practice on your verbs as well. Okay, so try reading out sentence number 1 there for us, Jake. Just in Greek, just pronouncing the words. You there with us, Jake?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. I'm not sure I can pronounce this one. Blepiels? Blepies?
Blepace. Yep. Let me pump it up a
Blepace.
little bit.
Right.
Blepace.
Blepace. Angelov.
Angalon.
Angelon on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have run into this noun in this sentence before in our first week's vocabulary. And the word at the beginning of the sentence is you see. That is the verb. You see. So have a guess at what you see in this sentence. You see an.
You see an. Help me out. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's the word angel.
Oh, an angel. Sorry. Yeah, an angel. Sorry.
You see an angel. Now, angel here is the direct object of the person doing the seeing, and so therefore it changes from angelos to angelon, because it's the direct object. It's the thing that is being acted on. So, yeah, you're going to need to just have a look at that cheat sheet of the different forms of the endings of the nouns. I don't expect you to remember these endings yet, but there we have angelos has changed its ending because it's no longer the subject of the sentence. It's the direct object, the thing that's being acted on. Angelon. Okay, number 2. Have a try at reading that.
So it was. So it was How did you say that again? Sorry.
Blepace.
Blepet.
Blepace.
Blepace. Angelos.
Angelus. Good. Okay.
Angelus.
So blepace. Unfortunately, sometimes Microsoft Word, it turns the first letter of a sentence like this into a capital. And so instead of the blepace up in number 1 with a small b, you get the capital B. That's the way a capital B in Greek looks. And you can see in number 3, it's capitalized the alpha as well in the first letter of the sentence too. So that's just a glitch in Microsoft Word. It's always wanting to capitalize things for you, the autocorrect. Anyway, blepace means you see. Angelus. Now, what is angelus? You can look at your cheat sheet that I sent through by email. That is Greek masculine nouns. See if you can spot what the ending angelus, O-U-S, signifies. What does it mean?
I'm just trying to find my cheat sheet. Is that for week 2? Sorry.
No, week 3. It's the one that I've just sent through about
3.
half an hour ago.
Oh, I see. Sorry, give me a moment. Angelus. Sorry, is that in the vocabulary lesson or in the masculine?
This is Greek masculine nouns.
I'm sorry, I'm not finding it. I'm sure I had it out.
So it came through at about 7:49 p.m.
Oh yeah, I've got the email out. Sorry, I'm going through all the attachments trying to find the right one. I'm sorry. I don't mean to hold you up.
It's all right. It's 3 Greek masculine nouns.
3 Greek. Three Greek masculine nouns. Yep, I've got it out.
Okay, and you can see in the table.
Oh, I
at the
see what you
top of
mean. Yep.
This is the sheet we're
So
looking
that's
at.
the
This one here.
plural of the. Yeah, no, sorry, I have found it now. So it's the plural of the direct object.
Yeah. So
Is that right?
how would we translate that
Angelus.
word? You see.
So I see angels.
Angels, but it's you see. Actually, it's not I see. I'm not.
Oh, sorry.
Blepeis
You
literally
see
means you
angels.
see. So in English, it's nice and easy to translate Greek into English because you've really only got three forms of an English noun. You've got the straight, normal English noun. Then you've got the plural. We stick an S on the end. And you've got the genitive or the possessive. We put an apostrophe S. So it's not hard to translate into English. It's when you're going the other way. You're trying to read the Greek and trying to work out what it means. So you see an angel is number one, but number two is you see angels, plural. Okay. Number three, see if you can read this one here, Jake.
Right. So angeloi.
Yep.
Baylor. Yeah. Help me one more time. What is that word? It will stick in my head.
Blepusen.
Blepusen. Blepusen. So
Angeloi Blepusen. Blepusen means.
So.
But don't you worry about
Angeloi is.
What about,
yeah.
Yeah. What's angeloi?
So angeloi is angels.
Yes, and they're the subject in this sentence.
Is that the direct address form?
No,
they're the subject, are they?
Just
yep.
the subject
I
form.
see. It's the same as the.
So yes, this sentence literally means angels see. Blepusen means they see, but angeloi specifies more particularly who the they is that's seeing. Angels see. Right. Okay, what about number 4? Read that one out.
So, Blepete? Is that different to how it's been so far?
Yeah, just blepete. Blepete.
Blepete. And then angelos. Yeah. Blepete angelos.
No, angelon.
Angelon.
So blepete means you plural see. What about angelon? What is angelon here? What
angelon?
What function does it have in the sentence?
So is angelon is the direct object?
Bing, you're getting them. Okay. Excellent. So yeah, just look at the cheat sheet. Look at the information I've sent through. This isn't a memory exercise. This is just seeing the way these words are being used. Okay, let's try and read out number 4. Number 5. Now that's a D, capital D on the front of that. Microsoft Word has capitalized the delta.
Right. So just sounding it out, I'm sorry. Didaskalos.
Good.
So didaskalos and that word that I keep didaskalos Blepio.
Yep. Blepe.
Blepe.
Yep.
Yeah, is that the whole word? Blepe?
Yep.
So didaskalos, blepe, angelios.
Angelon.
Angelon. What? I keep getting that every time I get that the end of it wrong. Yeah. So didaskalos blepe angelon.
Okay. So didaskalos means teacher. Blepe means he sees. And what is angelon here in this sentence?
That's the plural direct object.
No, it's a singular direct object. Angelon.
Oh,
Number 5.
is this? Sorry, is this question 5? Oh, number 5. Sorry, I was looking down at 6. Sorry.
Yes, it's question 5.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I see that. The single.
So it says
Yep.
the teacher or a teacher sees an angel. Didaskalos blepe angelon. Now number 6.
Yeah. So that's didaskaloi. Didaskaloi blep. Oh, it's a new one version. So didaskaloi blep. Didaskaloi blepa. Blepower. Oh, can you help me with that middle one? I'm sorry.
Yep, blepusen.
Blepusen. Didaskaloi plepusen angelos.
Angelus.
Angelus.
Yep. So didaskaloi. What word is that? It's teacher, but what is the ending on it telling you what it is?
So the ending is that it's plural and subject. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's teachers. They see blepusen. They see angelus. And what function is angelus fulfilling in this sentence?
That's the object, the direct object.
Yep, in the plural. Teachers see angels. Okay, number 7.
So curioi.
Kurios, number 7.
Oh, sorry. I went down to number 8 again. Sorry. Curios. Echel.
Eke.
Eke. Doulos.
Yep,
Doulos.
doulos. So kurios is the word for a lord. A lord. Eke is he has. And doulos is the word for servant. But doulos, what does the ending tell us about the servant here?
It's a plural direct object.
Yeah. So we could translate this: a master has servants, plural. Or a lord has servants.
Right.
Okay. Number 8.
So this is curioi.
Correct.
Curioi. Yep. Echus. Echusin.
Very good. Ekusen.
Yep.
Ekusen. Doulos. So what is kurioi? It's the word lord here, but what function does the end of it tell us it is performing?
It's plural and the subject.
Correct. So we might say masters, and ekus and is they have, and doulos, it's again plural direct object. Masters have servants. Now you can see in a lot of these examples I've given here that we have the sentence starting with the subject. For example, angeloi, angels, or teacher, didaskalos, or didaskaloi, teachers, or kurios, lord or master, kurioi, masters. And there are some verbs up here where the verb itself, it tells you what the subject is. So you see, it doesn't have the you there. The you is contained within the endings of the verb. You see, blepes, you see, blepeta, you plural see. But yeah, the Greek word order often is similar to English word order. And so just from that, you can see what that gives you sometimes a bit of a clue as to what the function of a noun is in a sentence. But the Greek gives you this extra help that it gives you an ending on the noun to tell you exactly and precisely what it is doing. Okay, we're up to number 9 here. Have a go at trying to read number 9.
So that's theos.
Good.
Theos. Kalel.
Calais. That is an
Calais.
I on the end.
Yep. Yeah, it is. Calais. Ton.
Good.
Tondel. Tondalon.
Dulon, very good. So Hotheos is the God. And this is the way in the Greek New Testament that the true God is spoken of usually. When we capitalize our G for God, in the New Testament, the way in Greek it does it is it sticks the word the on the front of it, the true, and it doesn't put true in there, but the God, as opposed to the fake gods or a God, which isn't a real God, the God. Anyway, so you can translate this as the God, or if it's in the New Testament, you could even translate this as God with a capital G. God, kale, is the word for call. God calls. Ton dulon. Now, ton here, we haven't come across this word yet, but it is the word the when it is in the direct object position. The God calls the servant. And you can see from the sheet that dulon means it's singular direct object.
Right.
Okay, and one last one, number 10. Have a go at number 10.
Yep, so we've got theos, then thoi.
No, poie.
Oh,
P for poie.
Oh, I see. Yep. Poie. Hotheos, poie. Ton.
Good.
Ton kos. Kosmon.
Good. Hotheos, poie, ton cosmon. So hotheos means the God again. Poie is he makes, and ton cosmon is the world. He makes the world. Yeah. It's in the direct object case in the singular. Ton is the in the direct object case. We haven't learned about any other forms of the word the, like ton yet, so don't worry too much about that. Okay, so there is, there's our Greek masculine nouns. And the way to learn them is, unfortunately, the only way to learn them really is by rote. And so, yeah, you just start saying them to yourselves: logos, logon, logu, logo. I wouldn't even worry about remembering the vocative, so just ignore them because they're very rare. Logos, logon, logu, logo, logoi, logois. No, logoi, logus, logon, logois. And yeah, once you've said it to yourself about 500 times, it tends to stick in your head. But an even more useful thing to do is to do the actual homework and work through the class exercises again if you want, just to drill it in. And if you're still not remembering this stuff, have a read of the chapter in Mr. Duff. And Mr. Duff explains things beautifully, and he'll give you extra exercises to work on. Okay, so there's enough Greek grammar and vocabulary for tonight. I'm gonna put the hard word on you, Jake. You've got a lot of work to do to catch up from these first 3 lessons, and it's a good thing you're on a bit of a break. But yeah, you're gonna have to put in about an hour for each of those 3 lessons we've done now, just in drilling yourself. That is, working through the homework exercises, writing them out. And I want a photocopy, I want a picture, a photo of them sent to me, each of the homework lessons before next week, all 3 of them. This is the way to work at the Greek. You've got to do a bit of hard work on it. And yeah, this is why I encourage the students to photocopy, or take a picture rather, of the homework you've done, print it out, print these sheets out, work on them, and then send it to me to prove you've done it. Because if you're not sending it to me to prove you've done it, sometimes you can just let it go. And then if you're 2 or 3 weeks behind, yep, you might as well give up. So this week's going to be pretty crucial for you, Jake, in terms of working through the homework exercises for these first 3 lessons, and memorizing the vocabulary from the first 3 lessons. And you won't, as I said right at the beginning of the course, you might struggle to remember some of these different endings and different things. Don't worry so much about that. It'll take a week or 2 for that stuff to get into your head. But just doing a bit of work every week on the homework, drilling yourself, it'll be like jelly, slowly setting. And after a week or 2, you will have this stuff embedded somewhere in your brain's memory banks, and it will come out on recall. But it takes 2 or 3 weeks after just this lesson here to start getting this stuff, and it becomes second nature. So yeah, you've got to do a bit of work every week, and this week you're going to have to do a lot to keep up with these first 3 lessons, because by the time we get to lesson 5, unless this stuff is really second nature, lesson 5 is just going to be, you're just going to be sort of, Andrew, I can't handle this, I give up. So
can do.
Have you managed to get a copy of Mr. Duff yet?
I haven't, sorry.
Yeah, so he will just say things in a nice way and just reinforce. So it's useful to help reinforcing by reading what Duff says about it, and he'll explain a little bit more. If you go down to well, you can't go down to Port Macquarie just so easily, but yeah, phone them up at Coorong and say, can I have a copy of Duff, please? They'll say, send us some money. And when you do that, they'll post it out to you.
Nice.
Or you can get him off Amazon, but Coorong will do it quicker. Yes, we've basically covered about 1.5 chapters of Mr. Duff. And we're working our way through the second chapter of Mr. Duff here. We've still got, in some ways, we've got a little bit further than Mr. Duff, but some of the stuff we've done is moving into Mr. Duff's chapter 3. But anyway, so there we are on Greek grammar. Now, every week, in addition to learning about Greek grammar and vocabulary and how the Greek language works, we do a bit of Bible study. And this is the fun part for us. So let me very quickly bring up tonight's advanced Bible study lesson. And hopefully this will help you a bit with Bible study. So here on the screen is a photograph I took of my interlinear, and it doesn't look like it's coming up very clearly on the screen there, but there it is. Okay, so this is the Bagster's Englishman's Greek New Testament, or it's the same book as Berry's interlinear, and this is 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verses 12 down to about 21. Now, if I am looking at a Greek interlinear like this, one of the benefits of a Greek interlinear is it shows you the actual words, and it will show you where the same Greek word has maybe been translated a different way in our English. And we want to identify words that are actually the same in a passage. So this is one of the great skills of Bible study. When we are studying the Bible, we want to look for connections. In other words, repeated words in a passage. Sometimes in an English translation, particularly more paraphrased translations like the NIV and like the NLT, these Bible versions which paraphrase more, even the ESV does this a little bit, the more paraphrase you get, the less you notice that this is exactly the same word as in a previous verse. And some Greek words are very difficult to translate all in exactly the same English word. We're going to see this here. But when we're studying a Bible passage, here's two things we're looking for. We're looking for connections between the same words, and we're looking for contrast, where the change in subject or the flow of the argument moves on. So here I'm going to press the button on my PowerPoint and show you, underline for you, some words that are all the same. Now, you can only see it very indistinctly there with those small red dashes. But let me read out the English for you. This is verse 14 of 1 Thessalonians. And this is in this interlinear, which is a very wooden translation. But we exhort you, brethren, admonish the disorderly, console the faint-hearted, sustain the weak, be patient towards all. Now you see that word all I have underlined there. The word above it, pantas in Greek, we have the first part of that word pan, and we have this word pan in some English words. So Pan American Airlines means all American. You can be a Pan Australian or Pan Pacific, and it means all of the Pacific Islands. Anyone from these islands, you belong in the Pan Pacific Games. Or there are a number of other words in English, but we get this word pan from Greek, and it means all. Now, Notice that Paul says here, be patient towards all. Then verse 15, see that not anyone evil for evil to anyone renders, but always, and you notice the word above this is pantote. Similar word, pan at the front of it. Pan, always the good pursue, both towards one another and towards all. Pantas. Then verse 16, pantote, always rejoice, unceasingly pray, in everything. Now this word everything, the Greek word above it is panti. Same word. You could translate in English, in all circumstances, give thanks. It's the same word again. So we're seeing this connection that maybe won't immediately show itself in an English Bible translation. And then we come down to verse 19. Do not quench the spirit. Do not set prophecies at naught. Test all things. Panta. And you can see that word in Greek there, pan again. Panta. So we're noticing a bit of a connection here when we see that we've actually got the same root Greek word being repeated time and time and time again by the apostle through this small paragraph. Now, this does not happen by coincidence. This is deliberate. Why is Paul wanting us to be thinking of this word all the time? Let me see if I've got another slide to go on my PowerPoint here. Here's over the next page. And let's see, do we have any underlines here? Yes, we do. So verse 21 said, test or prove all things, hold fast to what is good. Verse 22, from every form of wickedness abstain. And it's pantos, again, all. From all sorts of wickedness abstain. Then it says, now God himself, the God of peace, may he sanctify you wholly. Now, we don't have pantas here. We have a very, very similar word, holy, holoteles. And your entire, holokleron. You can see holo and holo. It's the word whole in English. We get our English word whole from the Greek word holos. And here is this root form here. May the God of peace himself sanctify you wholly, and your whole spirit, soul, and body may be blameless at the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. Verse 26, salute the brethren all. Salute all the brethren, pantas, with a holy kiss. I adjure you by the Lord that this epistle be read to all. Passin, same root word, pan, passin, the holy brethren. So we're getting this picture built up from these passages that we have this word all repeated over and over and over again. And sometimes in English we might not spot it because it's translated slightly differently. In everything give thanks. And then Paul puts it in the negative. He says, pray without ceasing. He doesn't use the word all there, but we can see that actually without ceasing means all the time. So noticing, even in a Greek interlinear, even if all we can do is read the Greek letters and we don't know what they mean, we can see, hey, this word, it crops up. This word family, pan, it crops up all the way down through these verses here. And we start asking ourselves, well, that's very interesting, because this is the way the Apostle Paul will emphasize some truth by repeating an important word, and he will focus our minds on this truth that he's repeating. So over to you. What do you think is the reason for the emphasis, or what might be the spiritual lesson here we're learning from the fact that we have all these alls through this passage?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is to do with how we're treating one another. So there's a there's a love for all, like
Yes.
who the love is for is universal, and the love itself is to be universal.
Yes.
Like it's all encompassing.
So
yeah,
good.
maybe I guess your implication is like that there's no area of your life or yourself which this doesn't touch.
Yes,
It's all
very good.
encompassing.
Okay. So in our actions with all the other believers, and all the time in our manner of life, always pursue what is good, both towards one another and towards all. Always rejoice. In all circumstances, give thanks. Pray without ceasing. In all of our activities and in all of our interactions with all of the believers, we are to be pleasing the Lord. And we're to be using all of our mind too, testing all things, holding fast what is good. So, yeah, Paul is obviously making a play on, it's not even a play, it's just, he's just bold facing this word all the way through this chapter here. He's asking us, and this is the way I like to say it, he wants us to be all out for God, all of our time, in all of our interactions with all God's people. We're to be, as verse 23 says, we're to be blameless as Christians. We're to be sanctified, holy. We're to be living for God. And yeah, I might let you think about that for a few days about, well, why does this come at the end of 1 Thessalonians? What is the relationship of this paragraph to some of the paragraphs that went before it and chapters that went before it? Why does Paul set out this chapter and set it up this way with this silver thread running through it, this word all that links it all together? All these miscellaneous instructions about various areas of Christian living. So anyway, the point of this little Bible study exercise is just to see the helpfulness that just being able to read the Greek words, and notice here is the same word, except for verse 23, where it's a slightly different word, holos, but everywhere else it's the word pan and forms of the word pan. The word all that Paul is really emphasizing. Once we see this connection, this thread running through the passage, it's sort of like, whoa, that is really, really helpful for me to understand what Paul is saying here. And he's really encouraging Christians throughout. This chapter looks like a bit of a laundry list at first of all sorts of diverse instructions, but now I can see something that's holding it together in a coherent way. Okay, so this is some of the value and the benefits of studying Greek. We can get into some of these passages a little bit more closely and notice some of the connections. And here we see some contrasts. It's not just all the brethren that I'm supposed to love, but there's all the time I'm supposed to be doing certain things, and right through to the coming of the Lord. Even verse 23 says, may the God of peace himself sanctify you wholly, and your whole spirit, soul, and body be blameless at the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. So anyway, we're going to notice and see much more about how we can study the Bible more effectively every lesson as we leave Greek grammar and vocabulary behind, and just have a look at some Bible study tips. But here is one of the main ones. Look for connections and look at how these, there's maybe differences between some of these connections as well. Some divergences and some different variations on this same one theme here in this passage. Okay, so we will leave our lesson there for tonight, and let's just pray before we finish, and then we'll end our broadcast. Any questions or thoughts to finish off with from 1 Thessalonians 5 there, Jay?
No, that was great. Thanks very much. Yeah.
All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we give thanks for being able to not only look into your word, but also think about the way Greek language works. And we thank you that studying Greek can be a help for us in understanding the grammar and the way sentences work in our New Testament, so we can be very clear and precise in understanding what your word is saying. We pray, Father, for your help then, particularly for Jake, as he's been sick and not well the last week or so, to strengthen and help him and bless him as he works at some of this Greek stuff, that it might become understandable and clear. And as he does the exercise, he might become more familiar with it and more comfortable with it. So bless him and help him, we pray. And pray for your blessing on John as well as he does these lessons too. So we give you thanks for your help and blessing tonight, and commit ourselves to you for your blessing this week in the name of our Lord Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Andrew.
Okay. See you next week.
Yes, with all homework done.
That's the way.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to end the broadcast here. So this is automatically saved to YouTube on my channel. I will send through a link to both you and John so you can look at it. And you don't need to look at it again. You can just look at the notes and work on them. But yeah, I would highly encourage you to phone up Kurong and get a copy of Duff, and he will augment and complement and clarify some of the things we've been talking about too. And you can have a look at Mounce, see what Mounce says about these things. But Mounce is a lot more complex. Duff is a lot more straightforward. Anyway, Mounce will be a help until Mr. Duff gets there. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Bye.